Hey everyone, this video is going to look at the hi-hat cymbals that John Bonham played throughout his career. I've done two previous videos looking at the ride cymbals and the crashes that he used, and this is going to be the final video in this little series. So to get started, I wanted to just show you all the hi-hats that I use, and they're all basically hi-hats that Bonzo likely played. For sure he played 602 15-inch sound edge hats. He also played 2002 sound edge hats, which he's probably most famously associated with. But in the early days, it's kind of hard to tell what he was playing, like on the first couple years, really. That first, especially 68, 69, and then going into 70, it seemed like he was using sound edge 602s, 15-inch 602s. There's again, the Paiste inventory list for Bonzo's endorsement shows him getting a set of giant beats in like February of 1970, so just after the Royal Albert Hall performance. So in my previous video I had talked about how I'm skeptical as to whether or not those are giant beats at Royal Albert Hall. Kind of because the shape, especially of the ride cymbal bell, looks a little bit more like a 602 to me. And again, Terry and I have talked about this a lot, and he also thinks that it's a 602. As far as the other cymbals go, it's really hard to tell what he's playing there. They could be giant beats that he got before he ever got any at the factory, or that factory list is incomplete, or it doesn't cover the first year or so of his endorsement. On the other hand, it's possible that he was borrowing cymbals from Carmine Paiste during the early tours when Vanilla Fudge was playing with them. There's a story about how Carmine lent him some cymbals early on, and that may very well be the beginning of the US tour when he got his maple thermogloss kit. I would have assumed that he'd get a set of new cymbals as well, but that doesn't seem very definitive at this point. There's no information that points to that, and pictures are really hard to make out what he's using on those early dates in January and February of 1969. So my guess is that he had a mix of stuff, possibly a Zildjian or two, maybe a Zinn cymbal, maybe he had a Paiste in there. It's just really hard to tell from photographs. But at some point you can see on the Danish TV special, it looks like he's got a whole new set of 602s, 14-inch hats, a 16 crash, 24, and an 18 crash. And he pretty much uses that setup for a while throughout early 69, and then sometime in, I think it's around July when they were in the Midwest, it looks like he's got a brand new set of 602s, and the hi-hats look 15-inch, this looks like an 18, and now he's got a 20. And then he would also mix them up. Sometimes he would have a second cymbal here, and he might have another one over on this side. So right now I'd like to focus on the hi-hats though. So early on, that first set of hi-hats he's playing, it's a 14-inch pair of hats. I'll try to post a couple pictures that show those hi-hats clearly. There's one from, I think it's the BBC Playhouse, and there's a couple others, I think, maybe from Birmingham. I'll find the photos and I'll put them up here. But in those photos, it's hard to tell if those are 14-inch giant beats, which I'm not even sure that those were available in 1969. I assume that they were, and maybe that's a set that he got, or maybe it's a set that Carmine lent him, or they could be a set of 14-inch 602s that just look kind of tarnished. But he plays those 14s up until about the middle of 69, and then you see him using a newer set. And then as we get into 1970, he seems to have all giant beats except for the hats, which are sound edge. So if you look at photos from the 1970 European tour, which is like February through March, and then in the US later in March and into April. He's playing sound edge hats. He has sound edge hats at the Bath Festival when he first gets the Green Sparkle kit, and those are sound edge 602s, and he pretty much plays those exclusively until about early, I think it's early 73 when he gets his 2002s for the US tour. So that's like May of 73. And then I believe from that point on he's using 2002 sound edge. Although you never know, he might have used 602 sound edges. It's hard to tell. You can't really see a stamp very clearly most of the time. But you do see the sound edge, the black ink stamp on the bottom. So, all that being said, these are the cymbals that I use for most of my videos. Now, I'll do some playing examples as well after I get done with the talk. But this is a 15-inch pair of giant beats. These are white label. The label is completely gone. You can't really see that, but maybe you can see there. The stamp at 3 o'clock. And they're still in pretty decent shape. A little bit of a rough hole there where the clutch goes in. And then this is the bottom cymbal. And the weight of this is 962 grams, and the top is 910. So I just used the lighter one on top. So these are my giant beats. And I think those, you know, when I hear rock and roll, for example, those really sound like those hats to me. But at that time, live, he was playing sound edge 15s. Now these are sound edge pre-serial 15-inch 602s, just like what he had basically. And this cymbal is 1018 grams. And the bottom sound edge is 1118. So not that much heavier. And there you can see it has a pretty fair number of ripples. Terry's an expert on this stuff. I don't know how many ripples and if they were hand crimped, and there's all kinds of little specific details that he gets into. But this is a beautiful pair of hats, and I really love playing them. They're a little bit warmer sounding than these, which are my 1978 pair of 2002 15-inch sound edges. And the top, you can see their serial numbers 838645. So these are from 1978. This cymbal weighs 1134. So it's just about the same weight as the bottom of that 15-inch 602, and this weighs 1224. So again, not a huge difference in weight between these. So those are the 3 pairs of vintage hats that are most like what Bonham played. And again, in the early days in '69, he was likely playing maybe some Zildjians or maybe some giant beats that he acquired, or 602s, but they were 14-inch and they were not sound edge. And you don't see the sound edge come around until February of 1970. And again, he played those sound edge 602s all throughout 70, 71, through the Japanese tour in late 71, and the clubs tour in the winter, late fall, winter of 71, and then all through 72 as well. Like, I've been doing a series on how the West was won covers, and basically this is the cymbal setup I've been using, is the 602s with giant beats, and that was pretty much the setup that he used throughout 1972, like in Australia and then the US tour when How the West was won. Those dates were recorded. And then also in fall they went to Japan, and likely looks to me like he still had the giant beats but with sound edge hats. And then you see that through the winter into early 73. Now he's got sound edge hats, but he's got one 2002 crash over here, and then the rest are giant beats, maybe a 602 extra crash, a 20-inch somewhere like up here or down here. So I'd like to go ahead now and demo these hi-hats for you. I'll play a couple examples of classic, iconic Bonham hi-hat grooves, and you can compare them and see if you have a preference for any. Okay, be right back. Okay, here's the Giant Beat 15-inch hats. Okay, so here are the 15-inch 602 Sound Edge hats. That's the 602s. Okay, so here are the 2002 15-inch Sound Edge hats, 1978. These are more crisp. And that's it for the hi-hat demo. Please be sure to watch the other videos in this series, Crash Cymbals and the Ride Cymbals of John Bonham. Thanks for watching. Peace.